A huge news drop from the UFC this morning as they announced the London card in March in its entirety, and we need to talk fights. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is MMA 365, the greatest UFC YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe, especially because Michael Venom Page is trying to catch a shiny Lugia, and we need to help him improve his catch odds, and the only way we can do that is if you hit that subscribe button. Thank you. So this was dropped from the UFC about 45 minutes ago. They announced the London Fight Night card in its entirety, occurring in March, and it will be headlined by Movsar Evloev against Lerone Murphy. This is a bona fide title eliminator. Many people thought that either of these guys should have fought Volkanovski instead of Diego Lopez, but now they get a chance to sort it out themselves. Both of these guys are undefeated. It will be a banger fight, and I'm glad that it will be going for 5 rounds. I know that on paper, Movsar Evloev did beat Diego Lopez earlier on in his career, but the inactivity, I think, is really what killed him. He didn't fight in all of 2025, and I just feel like if we were in a situation where Movsar Evloev was champion, I mean, how badly do we really want that? I'd say let him show that he can stay active, because right now the UFC has their fair share of inactive champions, and several divisions are kind of in a standstill right now because of it. So there's no reason for any more gridlock, and I would like Movsar Evloev to prove that he can fight more than once a year, and this is a good opportunity for him to beat Lerone Murphy and get a title shot later in the year against Volkanovski. We're still glad he won. And as for Lerone Murphy, he got the highlight reel knockout against Aaron Pico. This is the first time we'll be seeing him since then, and good for him for getting to headline a card in his home country. That's a big deal. This fight, I think, will be very evenly matched. I'm glad that it's going 5 rounds because I think we'll need every one of them. It'll be a very technical showcase, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. But as for the rest of the card, I mean, at first glance, it is kind of underwhelming because the only other ranked fighter on the main card is Roman Dolidze, and well, he's not exactly on a hot streak right now, is he? But going from top to bottom, Luke Riley, he's on a nice run. He got a nice knockout. I think he could be a future ranked contender. Then the next fight I find a little bit confusing. Michael Page going back down to welterweight to fight against Sam Patterson. Some British on British crime right here. I'm a little confused, to be honest, because Michael Page looked great against Jared Cannonier, and now he's going back down to welterweight to fight against Sam Patterson, who is on a great run right now, but I would think that they would want to set up both Michael Page at the top of middleweight and Sam Patterson as a welterweight contender. I find the matchmaking a little questionable, to be honest, for that one. Next, Iwo Baranowski against Austin Lane. We like Iwo Baranowski on this channel. He looked good in the Contender Series, and he put on the fight of the year against Ibo Aslan a couple months ago. And as for Austin Lane, he's a former NFL player who was an athletic heavyweight, but that's about it. I feel like Austin Lane's only place in the UFC at this point is to get knocked out by rising heavyweight contenders, and it'll impress casual fans because Austin Lane is visibly athletic, but now he's going down to light heavyweight. I think this is a good move for his career because he certainly can make the weight cut. He wasn't very big for heavyweight standards, and but I do think the same idea applies here. I mean, I expect Ivo Baranowski to win this fight and look good while doing it. Um, and then we get Roman Dolidze against Christian Leroy Duncan, and this is a nice entry point in the rankings for Christian Leroy Duncan. He's on a nice run right now at middleweight. He's looked very good in his last few fights, and Roman Dolidze has proven to be an extremely beatable fighter. Dolidze, he's a gladiator, but he has a lot of weaknesses in his game, and that definitely showed itself against Fluffy Hernandez. Um, I don't think Christian Leroy Duncan is quite on that Fluffy Hernandez level yet, but this is his chance to prove himself against a ranked opponent. And Curtis Campbell against Danny Silva. This is certainly a fight. Looking at the prelims now, the one that jumps out at me is Nathaniel Wood against Hossein Keita. Keita, he's a champion from, I believe, Octagon. He was supposed to make his debut against Patricio Pitbull, but he missed weight and that fight was canceled. Keita stepped up on short notice, so it is fairly reasonable for him to have missed weight. It's not the biggest deal in the world. And Nathaniel Wood, he's on a nice run. I almost wish that he got a shot at the rankings. But this one stands out to me as a fight that I really want to see, because I do think both of these guys could be ranked very soon. And then one more ranked fighter. The fact that there are only 4 ranked fighters on this card, I find somewhat questionable. There are 15 ranked UFC fighters in every division, 16 if you count the champions, and I have no idea where they're hiding. I mean, there's not a single current champion with a fight scheduled right now, and I mean, this is a fight night. We're not going to get a champion on a fight night, but still, where are the ranked fighters? I don't exactly know. I think there's a lot of fun fights here, but it's nice to have fighters in the rankings because the stakes are certainly higher. That being said, the only other fighter here who's ranked is Mick Parkin, and he's getting fed to the wolves, in my opinion, going against Mario Pinto. Pinto is from Portugal, but he trains with Tom Aspinall. I believe he's undefeated. He might have a no contest in there, but he's someone who's on a tear right now, and this is a very good, reasonable next step up for him. And both of these guys have English ties, so good matchmaking here. I'm really looking forward to that fight. And then the last point that I want to highlight is there's apparently a UFC fighter named Shamrock. Shamrock, but with an E. Shamrock. How interesting. There are plenty of fun fights on this card, in my opinion, and the main event is A1 for a fight night, but I do wish this card had a little more depth in terms of the rankings. Mick Parkin and Roman Dolidze are the only other ranked fighters on this outside of the main event, and both of those guys aren't exactly world beaters. The UFC is seemingly using those guys as stepping stones for the prospects. In my opinion, this card kind of feels like it's missing a strong co-main event. Maybe that will get announced in the future. I would hope so. But in terms of English fighters, I mean, Paddy Pimblett, well, he just fought, but both he and Tom Aspinall graduated from fight night status. And yeah, there isn't really another rising English British contender quite yet, aside from Lerone Murphy. Leon Edwards still exists, but he's on a downward spiral right now. Maybe he can end up on this card. That would be a pretty good co-main event. Obviously, you don't necessarily need to be British to fight on a card in England. I feel like that's something that the UFC did quite a bit in around like autumn last year. Uh, there's an Australia card, there was a China card, there's a Brazil card, and seemingly they just put all of their Australian, Chinese, and Brazilian fighters all on that one card. I mean, it's nice having fighters fight at home, but they don't necessarily have to be region locked. Let me know what you think about this card. Personally, I feel whelmed. That concludes this video for now. Be sure to subscribe because Michael Venom Page is really trying to catch that shiny Lugia, and he's about to run out of Pokeballs, and we need to help him out, and the only way you can do that is by hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for watching.